Listen up, please. Time for Money, Power, Politics. PepsiCo announced the departure of CEO Indra Nooyi, leaving just 24 women total in the position of CEO at the top publicly traded companies in the S&P 500. The problem is that number is going down, not up. A woman has succeeded another woman as chief executive of a publicly traded company only 3 times in history. In fact, and you know you've heard this from me before, there are more men named James running Fortune 500 companies than there are women in total at the helm. Joining me now, my dear friend and founder and CEO of The Crew and author of Drop the Ball. If you haven't read it yet, you must. Tiffany Defoe. Tiffany, I'm not saying Pepsi, you had a woman, it must be a woman next.
Sure.
But this is so distressing, and she's not the only one. We just saw Campbell Soup. We saw Mondelez. Female CEOs step down, and the only company I can even think of is Northrop Grumman that's elevated a woman. So you and I can talk all day long about the power of women.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it ain't showing up where it counts.
Well, let's start by congratulating Indra Nooyi and celebrating her. She had an incredible run. She's a phenomenal leader. She took Pepsi from $35 to $63.5 billion.
Which is not leaving the company.
Right, and it was a fantastic run, particularly for a CEO of this day and age, and certainly Kathy Warden is stepping up, and we're excited about that. But there's no doubt that we don't have enough women in leadership, and the reason why isn't rocket science. We've got a pipeline that's decimated at different levels. We know from Lean In and McKinsey's Women in the Workplace report that women enter the workforce at the same rates that men do, but they're not promoted as much as men are by the time we get to the middle. So you think about the life cycle of just people and families. The average female CEO gets that job at around the age 51. Well, about 15 years before that is when she needs to be ramping up her career. That's the same time that people are often having babies, procreating, right? You know, and workplaces really are not still set up to support people who are caregivers. So
where does this narrative come from that you hear, you know, everyone is all about diversity and you go girl and promoting women? What about those guys? When you actually look at the businesses, none of this is true. Those top executive jobs, I'm talking before you get to the CEO job, are not conducive for someone who is co-parenting. It's not even an option. So if a woman wants to make it to the top, she simply has to say, I guess I'm not going to have a family or my partner must stay home. Think about the travel expectations on these executives.
Well, that's correct. And, you know, women are not crazy. They're looking at that top job. They're seeing the demands of that job. And they're saying, I don't necessarily want to do that. That's not the kind of life that I want to lead. And can we just give a shout out to Indra Nooyi's husband, who has made a lot of this possible. He has been a true all-in partner to her. But I think that goes to our culture and these gender stereotypes around who can do what at home. I am here today. When I left this morning, my husband was feeding my kids breakfast. They can do that. So this idea that only women can be the primary caregiver is really a part of the issue as well.
But aren't you distressed in some way? Any Fortune 500 companies, most, have probably asked you to come talk to them, talk to their team, give a speech. You've given speeches to everybody and their brother.
Everyone.
But when you look out into the audience, it's junior and mid-level staff members who are women, and those on top continue to be dudes.
It's completely frustrating. And it's also frustrating because we know that 90% of CEOs are pulled from line roles. So even when we talk about women in the C-suite, of which there are many, they're not in the roles and in the positions that are usually plucked in order to get to that top spot. So we still have to keep working. My life's work is advancing women and girls. I'm going to keep going. Yes, it's frustrating. Is it distressing? Yes. But Indra Nooyi inspires me. Kathy Warden inspires me. And I'm going to continue the good fight.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.